Hey y'all, so yesterday I did a Patreon early access video about my reconciliation with Erick Ybarra and the restoration of our friendship. And I think you're going to enjoy and benefit from this video. So check it out. Hey patrons, how are y'all doing? Hope everybody's having a good morning. I got great news. I'm really happy to be able to do this show. And I'll do my best to not get misty-eyed here, right? As you could probably see from the title of the show, reconciliation with my friend Erick Ybarra. Known Erick for a very, very long time. Catholic content creator, apologist, all that good stuff. Known him for many years. For the last few years we haven't talked that much, but we were able to have a good reconciliation here. And I'm really excited about that. I'm going to share my screen and show you what he posted. So here's a blast from the past. This is me and Erick and a few others here from St. Stanislaus Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was a trip I had to Milwaukee. It was pretty cool. Got to see some really awesome stuff and hang out with those guys and hang out with Erick and meet him in person. I'd spoken to him for years online, but that was the first time I actually got to meet him in person. It was really cool. And anyways, he posts this on Facebook. He says, and by the way, this was posted yesterday. I have an important message to bring to my readers. This Lenten season has been a major cause for self-reflection and introspective reordering. Many things keep me up at night figuring out how to fix my past failings. I can relate to that one. I know how that goes. He says, I would like to take the opportunity at this time during Holy Week to make a public apology to Michael Lofton for making excessive criticisms of him in the last couple of years. Though I had disagreements with him, I exceeded the boundaries of charity in drawing undue attention to his motives and character. Also attempted to make it seem like he didn't know what he was talking about, which is obviously false. The man is incredibly intelligent, well-read. Those posts of mine must have made him feel horrible. He never retaliated, not once. Please forgive me and pray for my reconciliation. Reconciliation is certainly there. I did respond and posted here in the comment section. Hey, Erick, thank you for this. Please accept my apology for any uncharitable acts or words on my part too. I hope you're doing well and that you have a great Holy Week. By the way, that picture is a throwback, which that is, man. That's awesome to see. That really just made my day right there. That was awesome. I really appreciated that. And it shows the importance of reconciliation, and the reconciliation with friends is possible. I saw in the comment section somebody said something along the lines of, friends can still be friends even if they don't agree on something. And you might actually be surprised how much Erick and I actually agree on many things. And I've also had to reform my views many, many times, even since, in the last few years. So what he said is great that, friends can agree to disagree. And I said, absolutely. Sometimes I disagree with myself. It's true. I think one thing that Erick helped me realize is that you see something one way and you might be a man of conviction and you're like, really adamant about it because you think it's true. And if you're a man of conviction, you're just going to assert it. And what he's been able to do at times in my life is come along and say, okay, there's some truth to what you're saying here, but you need to consider X, Y, and Z to balance that out. And a lot of times the X, Y, and Z I haven't considered yet. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's actually a good point. I haven't considered that. I think he's very helpful at that. And because of the fact that there may be an X, Y, and Z that you haven't yet considered, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, it might be helpful to not be as dogmatic, as rigid, especially if this involves, a friendship. So I agree that friends can disagree and still be friends. I'll give you actually an example of where Erick did that. I can give you numerous examples. But one that comes to mind was he and I were discussing the essence and energies distinction. There's a lot of difficulty in the question of God entering creation. Does he enter creation? How does he enter creation? Here we're even talking about like prior to the incarnation, theophanies, stuff like that. In fact, there's some content creators kind of having that debate right now. Be that as it may, there's a lot of debate on that. Like, are these theophanies actually God incarnate? Are they some kind of angelic apparition that represents God? If it's God, is essence breaking into creation? Does that then introduce change to the essence of God? If so, then that's, philosophically untenable. And so there's a lot of issues involved, right? So there's different ways in which the Latin West has tried to answer that question. There's different ways in which the East has tried to answer that question. One of the ways is the essence and energies distinction. The essence is unknowable. The energies, however, can be known, and one can participate in. And whenever one experiences theophanies in the Old Testament, it's an energetic manifestation of God. And so, anyways, I was talking to him about essence and energies difficulties, and perhaps the essence and energies distinction being a solution to some of these difficulties. And he said, yeah, okay, what you're saying is true, but you also need to factor in this, and this, and this. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's a good point. I haven't factored in this, and this. And he's like, also, you need to consider what the Latin West has said in response to this in this particular situation, and it may be just as good of a solution as the essence and energies distinction, and thus doesn't even require you to adopt an essence and energies distinction to find some kind of reconciliation to these difficult matters. And it's like, okay, that's a good point. I haven't considered that. That's one example of numerous others that I can give you. He's very good at that. Very careful thinker, which I appreciate. I think a lot of people don't think through things as carefully. And whenever you have somebody who does that, they're able to take into account a lot of things that you might not ordinarily think of or be aware of. He's really good at that. I want to give you actually a couple other stories, because I see Erick, and have always seen him, as an intellectual giant. We may not always agree, but I can certainly say he's a careful thinker. He's very well informed. And so if we have a disagreement, it's not because he just doesn't know what he's talking about, or hasn't even considered, whatever it is that I am offering. He's already considered it, but he has various reasons for why he may not adopt this or that view. It's not like he's just unaware of this stuff, right? And I recognize that. I'm going to give you actually a couple stories. In that trip that he showed there on the screen, that picture, we went to a bookstore. And of course, we go to the theology section, right? Religion section. That's where we tend to gravitate towards, right? As people love theology, you go straight there. I went through the shelf and, I picked up a few things, but there was not a whole lot that I really picked up on as what would be useful. He, on the other hand, was able to pick out a whole bunch of other books and knew how they were useful, and I didn't realize that they were useful. And I noticed that, and I thought, that's interesting. He's very familiar with this material, the books on the bookshelf. And there's a lot of books, right? It's a pretty large bookstore. So I said, let me do this. Let me grab a random book here and see if he knows what it is. I just grabbed a random book. I didn't know what it was. He immediately knew what it was, who the author was, what that book was. He had already read it, told me all about it. I thought, huh, that's interesting. All right, let me grab another one. I kept doing that. And he, I kid you not, knew everything that I was grabbing. I thought, man, this is uncanny. So I've always known like this is an intellectual giant, very well read, very exposed to information and concepts. So if there's a disagreement, it's not because he's just not aware or hasn't already thought through the situation. There's something else that he's factoring in that I may or may not be factoring in. Right. Another one from probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. I don't know. My sense of time is poor. I thought something happened 2 months ago and I looked it up and it was actually 2 years ago. I couldn't believe it. I'm talking about an email. It was so weird being confronted with how poor my sense of time is. Be that as it may, I think it was 7, 8 years ago, somewhere around there. Anyways, we're talking about First Clement. He was asking me some questions about First Clement on the papacy, and there were questions I had not yet considered. He believed that you could use First Clement to prove some points about the papacy, but he was showing some difficulties in doing so. And up until that time, I just thought, clear cut, so clear. Papacy, slam dunk, and First Clement. And he started asking some helpful and probing questions like, well, have you factored this in? Have you factored that in? And no, I had not yet factored that in. And he forced me to take a second look at First Clement and realize, okay, you may be able to make an argument for the papal claims from First Clement, but it's not the slam dunk that you think it is because of X, Y, and Z. And that's just one among many examples. So if you have a friendship and you have a disagreement, sometimes it's helpful to be less rigid, and I could work on that because I am pretty rigid in some things. It's helpful to be a little less rigid because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you haven't yet factored in. I think that's something that I've realized, especially lately in the last year or so. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in truth. That doesn't mean that I'm a relativist or I don't think that some things are black and white. Yeah, I do think some things are clear cut. I do believe there is truth and truth can be known. And but I do think that a lot of things that I used to think were black and white are not so clear cut. That doesn't mean that they can't be used to support this or that thesis, but it does mean that you have to be a little less rigid because some things aren't the silver bullet or the slam dunk that you think they are. And I've had to realize that. And I do think that Erick has helped me over the years benefit from that. And so it's always good to have people like that in your life because they can help balance you out. Because if you don't have that in your life, you're not going to have that other input that can balance out your theological positions. So that's something that I wanted to point out about Erick and say I'm really grateful for. But I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have a friendship, reconciliation. And yes, we are going to do in the near future a show together. I think that would be awesome, really fun. So, more details on that soon. I'll let you know whenever that happens. But we are going to do something together, and that will be fun. And I do want to encourage y'all go and check out his channel, Classical Christian Thought. Go and subscribe. Go and support him on Patreon. He has a Patreon as well. I think that you will find him to be very helpful as a theological resource in numerous ways. Those are just a few examples. Those are just a few ways in which I've benefited from him. But I can give you way more examples. But you get the point. Let me look through the chat here. Paul says, nice statement indeed. Great news. Agreed. Simply Daryl says, awesome. Agreed. Praise be to God, Joseph says, indeed, indeed, indeed. Wonderful news, Kelly says. Yep. Why is my icon blue? Where's the time gone? I don't know. Oh, I think that Paul, the icon color, I think is due to like how long you've been a channel member. The longer you're a channel member, it like changes the color of the logo or whatever, depending on how long you've been a channel member. So yeah, that's what it is. Paul says, awesome. Howdy chat. That's great. Ryan says, praise the Lord. Indeed. Yeah, it's good stuff. In so many ways. But I was very happy to see that last night. It looks like many other people are also happy to see it. And I had a lot of people reach out to me and they were asking questions, stuff like that. And so I thought, yeah, it would be good to talk about this. And I think that whenever he and I do a show, it'll be also good for people to see that reconciliation where we're coming together on a live stream again at some point. I think that'd be awesome. 24 months is black RNT icon. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Anyways, I wanted to sneak this one in. Thank y'all so much for supporting the channel. Pray for me, for Eric. Go support Eric. Check out his content, Patreon, YouTube channel. That's going to do it. See you later. God bless. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com.